And then when they come to us, it's like, my doctor said that I couldn't have anything. So then it creates this difficult form of communication because then it feels like we're against the provider and we're trying to convince them that the provider was quote unquote wrong when it's not really like that. But it does make it a little bit more challenging for us to give a really good detailed explanation of like why they might have heard that and what it actually means.
Hey everyone, welcome to Food Culture Curious, the podcast where we dive into the intersection of culture and nutrition. I'm your host, Areli Gutierrez, a Latina registered dietitian, and I'm here to explore how cultural inclusivity can transform our approach to food, health, and well-being. Each episode aims to empower you to better understand and serve diverse communities with practical insights, personal stories, and expert advice. If you find this podcast valuable, don't forget to hit that follow button, leave us a review, and share it on your socials. You can find us as at Food Culture Curious. Hey everyone, welcome to Food Culture Curious. My name is Areli. I'm a registered dietitian on a mission to promote cultural inclusion inside nutrition and healthcare. Today we have with us Anna Rios, and I'm going to let her introduce herself because today is going to be a little bit different. It's going to be a crossover episode. So Anna, with her new podcast, is also going to have this on her show. So welcome, Anna. Let's go ahead and get started.
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me, Areli. I'm so excited to be here. And I just want to say thank you for inspiring me to start my own podcast because you were definitely part of that. Hi, everyone. This is Anna. I am the registered dietitian behind Healthy Simple Yum, a food blog and podcast, and I do a little bit of everything, but I love making my recipes. I love showing that my delicious Mexican food can also be plant-based and it can be nutritious and it can be beautiful. So follow me along at Healthy Simple Yum across all social platforms. And yeah, I'm just really excited to be here.
I'm excited for you. So, what is the name of your new podcast?
It's called Healthy Simple Mexican Dietitian. Yeah, it is definitely like that. I wanted to keep Healthy Simple Yum because I feel like it helps identify like my recipes. They're healthy recipes, but they're also supposed to be simple, at least most of them. And the yum factor cannot be forgotten. Yeah.
Wonderful. And talk to us a little bit about how you got here. How did you become a dietitian, or what led you to want to become a dietitian? And how did that turn into the entrepreneurial side that we're seeing today?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's a long story, but I'll keep it nice and sweet and short. But my motivation to become a dietitian started when I realized that I actually didn't want to be a doctor. That was the only like thing that they taught us in school. It's be a doctor. And I wanted to help people. I wanted to be in the healthcare field. I realized there were other branches to the healthcare field. And growing up in a Mexican American household, I saw everything that my family would go through. Like my tios and my tias had high blood pressure, diabetes, and part of me always wanted to help with that. And I realized that nutrition is a big part of the preventative side of healthcare, where not only can you help prevent it, but you can help navigate the diseases before they get way too out of hand, or in some cases, we can reduce medications and things like that. So yeah, I discovered nutrition, which made me realize, okay, like I want to shadow a dietitian, and I did. And I was so lucky enough to have a Latina dietitian as my dietitian because I went to a community health clinic, and that's what really started my career in dietetics. And I've been a dietitian ever since 2017, but I have been working in nutrition with the Hispanic community since I can remember 2015 or 2014. So I knew exactly where I wanted to be from the beginning. But yeah, after About 10 years of working in community clinics and seeing patients and working with patients one on one, I learned so much and I realized what the gaps were. Okay, people need to be visual. And I started taking photography and showing my patients. I would print little things for them and be like, this is what a healthy Mexican meal can look like. You don't have to eat salads, you can eat this. And it sparked the food blog part of me. And after 8 years, you start getting a little burnt out. And as you probably know, Areli, the healthcare field in general, it's not for those that are looking for a chill job. Like it is definitely for those with a strong heart and a strong mind, and
Mm.
it does wear you down. So that's when I wanted to split my time and I wanted to see patients half of the time and do social media and the art of like recipes and video and all of that the other half of the time. So that's where I ended up balancing it a little bit. And right now I'm at like 10% patients, and the rest is all working online, trying to make new resources, podcasts, and just provide services to the rest of the world that are either free of charge or very low charge, like ebooks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can definitely relate to that. So, for those of you that are listening from Anna's side, my name is Areli. I'm also a Latina registered dietitian. I'm also on Instagram as Latina Kidney Dietitian and Food Culture Curious, which is the name of my podcast. But I had a very similar journey
Mm.
where I saw the need, especially for the Hispanic population, to learn more about nutrition. And I'll admit it myself, and I've said this on my podcast. When I first started learning nutrition, I changed my own eating habits to a more westernized
Mm.
style because that's what we're taught as a dietitian. That's what we were taught. And it wasn't until I started actually working with the population, actually working in the kidney space, and realizing like the rules don't have to apply to just Eurocentric food. We can take those same rules, and you talk about this in your episode, those same rules that they use for the Mediterranean diet. We can
Mm-hmm.
apply it to Mexican food and teach our population how to take their own cultural foods and still reach their health goals. And very similar to what you said, when I was only seeing patients at my dialysis clinic, I was just working one on one with them. I saw how much it just blew their minds for me to tell them, like, no, actually, you don't have to cut out your cultural foods. And I felt like I'm limiting myself to only helping this one clinic, you know, or two clinics. And that's it when there's so many Hispanic patients that need to hear this message. And that's when I started Latina Kidney Dietitian for the main reason was like, let me let my
Mm-hmm.
Hispanic patients know that yes, you can have your cultural foods and it's actually going to help you from reaching end-stage renal disease. Or my patients that are already on dialysis, you don't have to completely cut out your cultural foods because you have a high phosphorus or a high potassium. So that's what led me to start mine. And because I was having these conversations with my patients and with other kidney dietitians of different cultures, that led me to realize that this is a problem with every cultural food,
Mm-hmm.
with every nutrition space. So you have Hispanic patients that have all these myths and misconceptions about gut health or eating disorders. So that's when I started the podcast to talk about cultural foods and how it fits into different health spaces. So I'm happy that you're here and we can share this topic together.
I love that so much, Areli. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for introducing yourself and sharing a little bit about your experience because I so relate to the first part that you mentioned, everything you mentioned, but in particular to when we were studying to be dietitians and we first became dietitians, I was there too. I would make smoothie bowls. If you scroll all the way to the beginning of my Instagram and like everything I was posting, it was smoothie bowls and salads and the little rice bowls with the avocado in the middle. And don't get me wrong, that's delicious. And yes, we still eat that. But it took me about a year or two to realize, hey, what am I doing? And I think part of it is because there's not enough representation online as well. So thank you so much for taking that leap of faith in like starting your social media and your podcast because the more the better, honestly.
Yeah. There's not enough of us, but we're doing what we can.
Hmm. So, yeah, since we started with this part of Eurocentric food blogs, and let me backtrack a little bit. Healthy food being portrayed as like this Eurocentric Mediterranean, like salads and very clean, quote unquote, clean
Mhm.
photos of Americanized food. I guess I want to hear a little bit about the myths that like you hear, because I know as dietitians, we hear some of the same things, but I would love to hear what you experienced at your dialysis clinic or any patients that you worked with.
Yes. So when it comes to the kidney space, it's difficult to get nephrologists and healthcare professionals to get on board with cultural foods because they have a big fear that if they encourage certain fruits and vegetables, especially, that the patient is going to have a high phosphorus or a high potassium. And when I first started, I thought the same thing. I thought, oh, tomatoes are high in potassium. Therefore, if you have a high potassium, you can't eat tomatoes. And it took a few years of me being in the dialysis space, in the renal space, and as I learned more about the different causes of a high potassium, the different causes of a high phosphorus, the absorbability of potassium and phosphorus, I realized that it was a lot more nuanced. And if
Mm.
anything, we were doing more harm than good, telling our patients to cut out fruits and vegetables because then they're not getting fiber, then they're
Mm-hmm.
getting constipated. Then
Mm-hmm.
guess what? Yes, they're going to have a high potassium or a
Mm.
high phosphorus from that constipation. So there were just all of these myths and misconceptions that I hated that the healthcare professionals jumped to. Even I would talk to other kidney dietitians and they would say things like, Areli, how do you talk to a Hispanic patient when they're so non-compliant? And to me, I was like, what do you mean? Because they don't want to give up their cultural foods. Who would want to stop eating everything that they're familiar with? I wouldn't be compliant with that.
Right.
And a lot of patients will tell you, like, I would rather die than give up my
Mhm.
homemade foods, but you don't have to. And like you mentioned in your episode, they have so much shame when it comes to talking about, oh, I eat beans, or
Mm.
actually I eat, like, I had some cheese. And it's all from that they've heard over and over, no beans, no tomato, no
Right.
mangoes, no avocados. So it's hard to get through to some of the healthcare professionals. I still hear them say things like, no, you have to tell these patients tomatoes are toxic.
Mm.
Tomatoes are toxic. I'm like, tomatoes are not toxic. If you have one slice of tomato on your sandwich, that's not going to send you to the hospital. Like, why
Right.
are we,
Right.
we're taking a very extreme view.
Approach. Yeah.
Exactly.
And I think that's one of the biggest problems that I've come across when it comes to working with other healthcare providers, especially PCPs, primary care providers. And it's that all or nothing mentality.
Yeah.
It's cut out tortillas, no beans. It's the way they say it. And grace to everyone, because in the healthcare field, we know that we have such a limited amount of time with patients that I get that doctors like nutrition not being their specialty, focusing on so many problems, they're overwhelmed. They only have a certain amount of time to speak to a patient. So, like, grace for that. And at the same time, it's also just about switching up the verbiage a little bit so that it is not coming off as like X, like no, absolutely cut out tortillas. And I feel the same way because we look up to doctors, we look up to our healthcare providers. Their words mean so much to everyone, to our community especially, because it's someone of such like high
Esteem.
yes, exactly. So if they say something, even if they don't mean it or if they say it too quick, or it really causes them to lock that in. And then when they come to us, it's like, my doctor said that I couldn't have anything. So then it creates this difficult form of communication because then it feels like we're against the provider and we're trying to convince them that the provider was quote unquote wrong when it's not really like that. But it does make it a little bit more challenging for us to give a really good detailed explanation of like why they might have heard that and what it actually means.
And to have credibility and to gain their trust when we're going against what someone that, again, they have high esteem for has said. That's definitely a big challenge for a lot of us dietitians.
Yeah, and I think after so many years of hearing that, especially with the tortillas, arroz, like beans, they all get such toxic recommendations that I wanted to get your opinion on this too. I don't know if you've experienced this, but it's always our cultural foods. For example, it's like no arroz, no tortillas, but you can have your two slices of whole wheat bread with peanut butter and et cetera, et cetera. Not to hate on whole wheat bread or anything, but when we're talking about carbs, because for me, a lot of my patients are patients with diabetes or pre-diabetes, and the big thing is no tortillas, no this. Try whole wheat bread instead. Try oatmeal instead. And I want to ask you, have you had anything similar to where there's like these double standards, and how do you approach that?
Yeah, of course, because when they cut out foods, they don't usually tell them what to eat instead. In kidney nutrition, they'll just come around and be like, know this, know that. And so then the patients, then what are we supposed to have? But you never hear, like in the dialysis space, you never really hear, oh, don't have salmon, don't have beef, don't have. We encourage more protein, they have higher protein needs. But there's also potassium in meat. There's also
Mm-hmm.
phosphorus in meat, but that never gets cut out because there's other benefits that they need from that meat. There's other benefits that they need from those fruits and vegetables. And same thing with the whole grains. For the longest time in the kidney space, they would recommend white rice, white bread, and they would tell them no whole grains because of the
Mm-hmm.
phosphorus. No whole grains, no core tortillas, no anything with whole grains. And now, again, the new research is showing actually we're doing more harm than good cutting out whole grains if it's already naturally a part of their diet, like corn
Right.
tortillas, or if someone is Bolivian and they eat a lot of quinoa, like different things like that. We're doing more harm than good cutting out these whole grains. So a lot of it is new evidence that's coming out, and some people are still based off of that outdated evidence and just
Mhm.
helping the providers understand that and then the patients understand that.
Yeah, yeah. I wish there was more forms of education between dietitians and medical providers, and just like more connection, because that would have solved so much of the confusion and the frustration that I saw in my patients. But
Yeah, and it's a perception of our food that's been ingrained at this point in the culture, in our own people, in our own family and friends. You'll hear those statements over and over. Oh, I'd be healthier, but I love tacos too much. Or I
mm-hmm,
would do this, but I just can't live without enchiladas. Or,
mm-hmm,
oh, I would lose weight. And like they've already
mm-hmm.
accepted that our food is the problem. That's what's causing the excess weight or the diabetes, not the
Right.
fact that they don't have time to work out because they have
Mm.
to work several jobs or they're so stressed. It's so difficult to get childcare in this country.
Oh my gosh.
You're spending all your money on childcare. Now you don't have income to spend maybe to have like a gym membership or just that lack
Mhm.
of financial resource have health implications.
And not to say that there aren't like comfort foods in our culture, just like any other culture, right? There are foods that we're like, yeah, those are fried, and yeah, those are a little bit heavier. But at the same time, we need to look at the full picture when you really
Right.
sit down and you're like, okay, what's actually preventing me? What's preventing me from meeting my health goals? Food is simply just one small part of it. Because as you probably saw when working with dialysis patients, and I think, first of all, I just want to mention dialysis patients are some of the most heartbreaking sessions, in my opinion, because they're going through something so difficult and
Mhm.
you almost learn a lot of their story. I had the pleasure of working with a few dialysis patients in my time at clinics and hearing their story, because when we have nutrition sessions with our patients, it's not usually just about nutrition. We're not just talking about the foods they're eating. We're not just talking about carbs and protein. That is a part of it, but it gets pretty deep. It gets pretty emotional because when you start navigating their dietary intake or what they're doing or their schedule, they tell you things because it's, oh yeah, I didn't get to cook last night because I had to go pick up my daughter and then this and then I had to do that. And it's like limited resources, so many responsibilities. The barriers are just one after the other to the point where, you're in this session and you're learning about them. And at the same time, your heart's breaking because you're like, wow, like our system is really not the greatest when it comes
Mhm.
to helping people stay healthy.
No, absolutely. And unfortunately, I still hear a lot of judgment from the healthcare professionals, like from the nurses and doctors, where they'll say, "Ugh, how do they expect to have good labs? Look at how they're eating. They're coming in with that Popeyes. They're coming in with foods that they know is high in phosphorus. They don't even care." And I had to talk to them and say, look, you can only care about so many things. Yes, of course, as healthcare professionals, as dietitians, we're always going to provide education. We're always going to make sure that those needs are met. But like you mentioned, they have so many competing priorities. They're still full human beings with lives and people that depend on them, right? They still have to, some of them are still working. Many of them have families that need them. They're worried about, is my insurance information correct? Do I need to pick a new one? It's
Mm-hmm.
not covering this medication. I need this other medication, but my nephrologist doesn't want to give me a prescription. I have to go to my PCP. Half of them have diabetes. So can I afford my insulin? Can I afford my metformin or whatever they're on? And they just have all of it. You can only care so much. And I work in a side of town that is just not as affluent. I don't work in
Mm-hmm.
the woodlands. I don't work with patients that have the resources or the family support that they need. I have patients that are homeless. I have patients that use drugs. They have all these other issues,
Yep.
mental health, patients with like serious mental health issues. And there's just sometimes it's just too much.
Mm-hmm.
And as my friend, she's a social worker, mentioned on her episode, when you have that much trauma, when you have that much stress, you're gonna want to lean towards quick, convenient, comfort, delicious. This might be the only happy thing I have in my day is that I get to enjoy this food that I like. So, for one, never judge if what they have in front of me is high phosphorus or not. Sometimes that might be what they're eating all day. I don't know. I say all that to say it's really important for healthcare professionals to withhold judgment when they see that the patient isn't eating how they're like supposed to be eating because they've got a lot going on.
There's so much going on. And thank you for touching on the mental health side of things because I love to bring that up to every session that I have. And actually, my group that I do right now, we focus heavily on mental health because we realize how much that impacts our food choices,
Mhm.
how it impacts our hunger, our cravings, our just everything, well, even our appetite. Like sometimes we're so stressed that we're not hungry, and then other times we can eat half of the fridge.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to consider, and I think it all goes back to food being so much more than just nutrients. Yes, it is nutrition. Like we get energy and nutrients from food, but it's not just that. It's also culture and happiness and joy and a privilege, and the list goes on and on. And like you said, sometimes food is the only joy in someone's life. And for us to make any judgment on it or be really closed-minded or say things like no bananas or no tortillas can weigh really heavily on that person because it's like you said, it might be the one thing they're holding on to. So thank you for touching on that. I think that's really important.
Of course, it's different when you're face to face with a patient and they're crying in front of you because the doctor just rounded and they told them your potassium is high, you need to stop with the avocados, you need to stop with tomatoes, you need to stop. And to them, and I can understand why, like it feels personal. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're asking me to give up my identity. Do you know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? You want me to eat in a way that's just not what I'm used to. That's not how I was raised. So you get patients that are either one seen as non-compliant because they don't want to do that, or two, they do follow those rules and they're unhappy about it, of course. They're
Mm-hmm.
miserable living that way. And I had a patient that, because you hear a lot of don't eat beans because of the phosphorus, don't eat beans because of potassium. I had a patient that hadn't eaten beans in 15 years. I know
Oh my
because the
God.
provider had said, no, that's causing your high phosphorus. And the day that I said, you can eat beans, let me show you how to cook them. Let me show
Mm-hmm.
you the portion size. Like he
Mm-hmm.
was emotional because he couldn't.
Oh,
It's just there's a fallout to the misinformation. And that's why we're doing this. That's why we have the
exactly.
Instagram and the podcast so we can try to spread the word as much as we can.
Yes, that's why we're here. And I also want to clarify because I get this question a lot, and I'm sure you might have gotten this question too, where they're on one side of the extreme, right? Like no banana, no tortilla, no beans. We're not on the other side of the extreme.
Right?
It is all about figuring out the balance, figuring out what works. And like I said in the beginning, doctors specialize in medicine. They have such a short amount of time with each patient. They are not nutrition professionals and they're trying to help. They're just trying to help. They want your numbers to get better. They want your phosphorus to improve, blood sugar, etc. However, let's just remember that they're not nutrition professionals. Just like
Right.
we are not medicine experts, we
Hmm.
will never tell you how to take your meds unless it has something pertinent to do with nutrition or some nutrient medication interaction. But when you come to us, we will not only try to fully understand your entire like story and your diet and your eating habits, but we will help you balance everything. Okay, let's talk about portions. Let's talk about how we balance things out. Let's talk about how we wash the beans or how we prepare these foods so that you feel safe and you're still meeting your goals, but without that heavy restriction and heavy burden of, oh no, I just the easy way out, quote unquote, not easy, but it's to tell the patient, no, don't have that.
Yeah. And there's a reason for it because you've mentioned it a couple times. They only get maybe 15 minutes with us. Doctors maybe get 15 minutes with us. But that is like lazy education
Hmm.
because you're not explaining the nuance. Now, they don't have time to explain the nuance, but that's why we exist so that
Hmm.
we can actually take the time to go through everything. And I love how you said that anytime that we defend certain foods, like whether it be processed foods, any type of foods, people want to say, oh, you're just saying that I can just eat chocolate all day and that I'm going to be fine. So you're saying I can have three avocados and it's not going to affect my appetite. No, that's not what we're saying. But even if you can only have a little bit, like even, for example, dairy in the kidney diet, the recommended portion is one serving a day, which isn't a
Hmm.
lot. But it can be meaningful whether or not you get to put cheese on your food, whether or not you get to have that half a cup of yogurt for your breakfast. Like if that's something that you enjoy, even if it's a little bit, people want to have it rather than not.
Right.
So To give you an example, when I was in college, I was having a lot of anxiety. A lot of
Mm.
anxiety. I went to the doctor, and the doctor told me you need to cut out caffeine. So, no mochas, no nothing,
Mm.
nothing. And to me, even still to this day, mochas are such a comfort food. They're my pick me up, they're my go to when I'm having a bad day. So, cutting out the mochas actually did make me sad. And then maybe it
Mm.
sounds silly, but like it made me sad. And I remember going to Starbucks one day, I was studying, and I asked them, like, do you guys make mochas that are decaf? Is that a thing? And they were like, yeah, we can make you a decaf mocha. And I kid you not, tearing about
Mm.
it now. I'm like,
Mm.
it's just when you and really enjoy something, when something's meaningful to you, if someone
Yeah.
can figure out a way to give that to you, like that means
So much. It means the world. Oh my gosh. Thank you for sharing that. I think that's the perfect example because I've been in similar boats too, whether it's like dairy or something that you can't have because either your body's rejecting it or it's causing anxiety or it's causing some issues. It's 2025. Chances are there is going to be a really good alternative. We just have to look for it. We have to figure it out. And I think that that makes me think about access to us, access to dietitians,
yeah.
because just as I think everyone should have access to therapy and therapists, I think everyone should have access to dietitians. Like, those are the two things that I'm just
Yes.
like, this is a requirement. Come on, America. Let's figure something out because it's a life changer. It's a game changer. It changes your life. It changes your perspective. And I can't tell you how many times I have had patients that thank me over and over because sometimes this is so common, but sometimes they come to you and they're like, "Oh, I already know what I'm supposed to do."
Yeah.
Or I'm already doing it. And they
Mhm.
don't realize that they can learn so much from speaking with us. And then at the end of the consult, they're like, wow, like, even though I wasn't expecting to talk about XYZ, I learned so much. And now maybe they have a new idea for a barrier they can overcome. Simple thing that just makes their life so much easier. And I think that mocha example was perfect.
Exactly. That's so funny because I've had that exact same thought, but my example was a dentist. I'm like, just how
Mm.
everyone needs a dentist, everyone needs a dietitian. Like,
Mhm.
everyone has specific health goals that they need help with, whether you're like, by the way, congratulations on your pregnancy.
Thank you.
Whether you're growing a human or you're recovering from postpartum, you're having surgery,
Mhm.
where you are in your life stage, like the needs change, our health goals change. Everyone needs someone to guide them through that. And
Mhm.
unfortunately, because of social media, a lot of people think that they know
Yeah.
about nutrition and start giving these crazy recommendations because it worked for them, and not
Mhm.
understanding that just because it worked for you doesn't mean it's going to work with someone who has diabetes or kidney disease or all these other things going on. And just because they're a different person to you, it might not work for them. So,
Yeah.
unfortunately, like you said, they'll come to you and they'll say, oh, I already know. I already
Mm.
know I'm supposed to eat salads. I already know. But yeah, but we can help you figure out how to do it with the foods that you love, specific to meet your health goals. Even with my patients now, I'll have a patient that has chronically low potassium asking me how they can reduce the potassium in their foods. And I have to explain to them, you don't need to. Your labs show me that you need to eat more. Or same
Wow.
thing, yeah, same thing with the phosphorus. They'll be like, how can I avoid phosphorus? I'm like, your phosphorus is too low. We stopped your binders last month because we needed to come up. Different for every person, and we can help you with that.
And interpreting labs can be really hard, and doctors sometimes don't have time to fully explain everything. Countless amount of times I've had to do it for my patients. I have to do it for my own parents because doctors come in, say a few words, and then you don't really put two and two together. But like interpreting labs for you, what they mean, not only what to eat, but how to navigate things. There's so many like ups and downs that the journey of improving your health and your eating habits can have, that there's so much to talk about. There's like trends like apple cider vinegar. Oh my gosh, there's so many things that we like just have ingrained in us because we've heard it so many times in social media that we just like, yeah, that's good. That's gonna
Mhm.
help.
Yeah.
But in reality, there's so much more to it than just simple fixes and solutions.
Yeah, and unfortunately, because of the times we live in, everyone wants everything to be yesterday. They want
Mm-hmm.
that weight loss. If they saw you and by the next time they saw you, they didn't lose 10 pounds, it's
Mm-hmm.
not working. It's just not
Right.
fast enough. So, unfortunately, there's that perception that you can fix things overnight. And if they're not fixed overnight, then I need to go do something more drastic.
Right. Yeah.
So I'm hoping in the future, people will start to see the value of dietitians.
I think they're starting to.
I hope so.
I think I've had some good experiences and I have really good hopes. I think we're making positive change. And it's like they say in Spanish, un granito de arena. Like I put my granito, you put your granito, like all of us. Like people that even share our podcast episode or share
Mhm.
our Instagram post. Like just sharing, like they're putting their granito. They're
Yeah.
showing people that like, hey, we exist. We're out here. We're an amazing resource and just getting the word across, like that domino effect,
Yeah.
right? Having people connect over this and reconnect with
Mhm.
cultural foods. And so I think we're doing it. I have positive hopes.
No, absolutely. And also, we are inspiring other dietitians
Mhm.
to put their granito because it can be very scary to be on social media, but we need to be out there. We need to be fighting that misinformation.
Mhm.
And as daunting as social media can seem, it's just worth it if you find those people that really needed to hear that message, especially about cultural foods and cultural inclusion. It just means the world. So, dietitians, if you're listening to this,
Mm.
or healthcare professionals, if you're listening to this, go out and do your thing because there's people that need you.
Yes. Yes. And I've gotten so many like DMs throughout the years of heartfelt messages from viewers or followers where they're like, "Hey, I'm so glad I found you. I've been struggling with this and this, and hearing you talk about how I can enjoy this food and do this instead." And it's just so heartfelt and so honest. And you're like, wow, if I can change just a handful of lives by being on here, like that's already enough. But I know you can get to so many people because look at us. Like, I'm sure we've reached hundreds, thousands, millions, who knows? It's been a wonderful journey, and I know that for every negative comment or negative thing you'll get on social media, it will be like 100 really good things.
That's
So,
true. And I did want to touch on one thing that you mentioned, how it's great that, especially you, that you have such a great following, you get to help a lot of people. But even if it is just like a few people that you're helping, to that person, you changed their life. To that person, you meant the world. And for me, that was a big motivation as far as trying to get credentialed with insurance.
mm,
Because if whoever's listening is not a dietitian, it's actually very difficult. It's a very
mhm,
difficult process to do. Billing itself is a difficult process, so a lot of dietitians shy away from that. But how can I call myself the Latina kidney dietitian and not make myself available
mhm,
to the people that need me? A lot of
yeah,
Hispanic patients are lower income. They would like maybe to see a dietitian,
mm,
but can't afford to, right?
right.
They would like to use their insurance for that. So, how am I going to deny them that? So, that's why I made that effort. And happy news, I finally got accepted yesterday. So,
Mm.
hopefully, I'll be able to start helping those people soon.
Congratulations. You're really doing it. Oh my gosh.
Thank you. I
I'm
was
gonna send so many patients to you. Just heads up.
awesome, awesome. I was at work when I got the email and I almost started crying because I was like, oh my gosh, like this is just so important for mi gente to be
Mhm.
able to be accessible to them. It's just so meaningful.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And how many years have you been a dietitian?
I've been a dietitian since 2017.
Oh,
Yeah,
so same year?
I think so.
Oh my
Like, yeah.
gosh. 2017 here too. Amazing. Oh my gosh. I love that.
Yes, and I kidney dietitian for 6 years. I finally took my CSR this year and I passed it. So now I'm a board certified renal specialist and
Mm.
excited to help my people. Yeah.
I love that. You're so inspiring.
You're so inspiring. Especially, and I don't know if a lot of people know this, but there's so many protective properties to having a plant-based diet when it comes to CKD. Like before you're on dialysis, they really do
Right.
encourage you to go plant-based. So I really love seeing all of your plant-based examples of a Mexican diet. I love that. And I'm hoping to be able to do more of that for the kidney space.
Yeah, amazing. Let me know if you need any help, and I'm right here. I definitely want to do a podcast on, it's probably going to be a series, honestly, because there's so much to say about plant-based eating. But yeah, that one's coming up soon.
I'll be listening.
Thank you. Thank you, Areli. I appreciate it.
Awesome, Anna. Well, it was so awesome doing this episode with you. I really enjoyed our conversation. And for the people that are listening from Food Culture Curious, I want them to know how to find you if they want to work with you or just learn more about what you're doing.
And you too. So you go after. So yeah, you guys can find me. My podcast is Healthy, Simple Mexican Dietitian. It's on all the main platforms like Spotify and Apple. And as for social media, you can find me at Healthy Simple Yum across TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Or if you want to just scroll my recipes for delicious plant-based recipes, healthysimpleyum.com. They're also in Espanol, so if you click the little Mexican flag somewhere on the top or the side, depending if you're mobile or on a computer, they will all translate to Spanish.
Wonderful. And for those of you listening on Anna's side, again, I'm Areli Gutierrez. The name of my podcast is Food Culture Curious, available on Spotify, Amazon Music, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. And if you want to follow on social media, I'm Latina Kidney Dietitian and also Food Culture Curious.
Amazing. So make sure you follow her, guys. She's awesome. And I know I get a lot of kidney renal related questions, so I'm not specialized in that. So make sure you follow Areli.
Thank you again so much, Anna.
Thank you. I hope you guys have a wonderful day.
Awesome. All right, everyone. We'll catch you next time. If you are interested in supporting this podcast, you can buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/food culture curious. Or as always, you can support by sharing, following, or rating this podcast. Every click from y'all means the world to me. And now for a quick disclaimer. Food Culture Curious is for educational and entertainment purposes only and does not take the place of medical advice from licensed healthcare professionals. If you need to seek medical advice, please speak to your healthcare provider. Thank you for listening.